everyone, it's Amy, and welcome back for Journaling on a Budget, Memory Lane. So today we are going to make the dangle for our lap book journal, and I've been thinking about this as to when I was going to make it, but then in the mail I got a little letter from Chris Wilson, and she had seen these at her church garage sale, and she said it made her think of me and the journal that we're working on. And so I have these little clear plastic chips that I was going to color and wrap them in plastic and tie them up like a piece of candy. And so I still colored some, but instead of wrapping them up like candy, since I already now have some candy to put on our dangle, we're going to use this, and we're going to do the dangle this week. So, because I don't want to lose these, and I'm really good at losing things. So, we're going to start with the bead cap for our dangle. And so I just have a little skewer here, and I am using this is just shredded paper out of our paper shredder. And so I'm using 7 pieces of the shredded paper, and we're just going to, I'm going to start at an end that does not have, because I've got a lot of things ready, because there's a lot of little parts that I wanted to put on this. So I was painting stuff with fingernail polish. If I roll it on there, I'm going to have a hard time getting it off. So I'm going to come down here where my skewer is clean, and I am just going to just roll it up. Now, if you don't have a paper shredder, so you don't have these kind of paper shreds, you can just use a paper cutter and slice little pieces, or you can even use your scissors and just cut little slices. So this is just a straight piece of paper. It's not angled like you make the, not sure what those are called. For some reason I want to say that they call them bicone beads. Maybe that's right, because they're kind of pointy at each end. So, but this is not like your regular paper beads. This one is going to be straight. And we're going to use this to make a bead cap. So like I said, I'm using 7 pieces of this shredded paper, which this is shredded the long way. So that would be 8.5 by 11. So that would be 11 inches long and 7 pieces. So once you get to the end of one, and you do want to keep it kind of tight, and when you get to the end of the first one, you're just going to put some glue on there. And I'm just going to use stick glue. Any kind of glue will work. So, because we're also going to kind of seal it together when we're done. So it doesn't have to be any kind of a super strong glue. So I'm just going to line up another one. And then just keep right on going. Try and keep it lined up. And for this, because we are going to use this to make a bead cap, we don't want to add a bunch of extra glue throughout. Sometimes if I'm wrapping a bead that's going to be really thick, I might put a little bit of glue here and there. But in order to make this into a bead cap, which I'll show you in just a minute, we want to make sure that these layers are not all glued together, you know, along the length of them. So you're just going to continue doing that until you have all 7. So let's just put glue on it, add another strip, and there is no right amount to put, you know, up and down or anything. Just put some in there. And usually about the time I get to the 3rd one, I take it off the skewer. And I just do that because for me, well, that wasn't very smart. Let's tighten it back up again. And I did get it tight, so that's good. For me, it's easier to hold on to and do it this way than it is to have it on there. And if you have a bead roller, you can use that too to make your bead. You don't have to use a skewer. You don't have to take it off. You can do it whatever's most comfortable for you. But you're just going to keep on going until you get all 7 of the pieces of paper wrapped up. I'm not going to do all 7 because it does take a minute, so I'm going to just go ahead and I'm going to end this bead off. I'll just use it for something else later. I want to end it off so that it doesn't unravel. So there we go. So you're going to do seven strips of paper, 11 inches long, so that would be 77 inches of paper. Once you get those done, it's going to look like this. So now that you've got them all rolled up, what you're going to do is you're just going to press out the center. You're just going to push here, and it's going to make it pop out here. And you're just going to do that until it looks the way that you want it to look. So you can, you know, kind of make it a little bit rounded. And this paper shredder is a really old one. And it really does kind of make the papers very messy on the edges, like this. I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's not a nice straight cut. And that's okay because I like that. It kind of, you know, just gives, to me, it gives the bead a little texture and a little extra interest. So once you have made your cone for your bead cap, you've made your cap now, you've got a place here, you know, to fit something into, and then you've got the cone on the top. Then you're just going to take some regular glue and... let me grab some. You're just going to take some regular glue and you're just going to paint it on. And a lot of times I use tacky glue. I just left my tacky glue in the other room because I was doing this in the other room earlier. And I left my tacky glue out there. So, but you're just going to take some glue and you're going to paint it around there. And then what I do is I paint it around. You don't have to put it on the edges because it's the part that we have coned out that we want now to stick together in this shape. And what I do is I do it this way, and then I set it down and let it dry. Then I flip it over and do the inside. You need to make sure that you do the inside also because you want this shape to stay. So, and once you get that done, you're just going to do the top, let it dry, do the bottom, let it dry. And then, and that one I made very pointy. This one, I just made it stick up just a little bit. So, but then it will look like this when it's dry. And then once it's dry, hold on. Okay. I had to find some water to rinse the glue off of my paintbrush because I don't want that paintbrush to get ruined. And I hope that I'm trying to remember to speak up because I know I let my voice lower a little bit, and last time it was kind of quiet, so I do apologize about that. So now this is actually like a little dowel instead of a skewer, so it's better to use a skewer to paint them because then you can stick the point of the skewer in your hole. It fit, you know, just as easier. So you're just going to stick it back on your skewer and pick something to paint it with. You can paint it with paint. I like to paint them with nail polish because it even makes them even a little stronger. And I don't know, I just like this nail polish is a little bit sparkly. And so, and this one here is a see-through nail polish with some sparkle in it. So this is going to let the words that are on the paper show through. So if you don't want that to happen, you don't want to use something clear, and then you won't have that problem. So the other nail polish that I used for our completed one, was not a see-through color, but I kind of like that, the look of that, of the words on there. There's, you know, nothing there that's bad or anything. So you're going to do both the inside and the outside, and whether you paint it with acrylic paint. Now, if you paint it with like watercolor, that's going to kind of water down your glue a little bit, and watercolor is not, I don't want to say it. It's not like glue itself. Acrylic paint is plastic. And so when it dries, it kind of acts even as, you know, something to help glue your bead together and make it even stronger. So if you're going to use watercolor, you are going to want to use a glue that is not water-based so that the watercolors don't soften your glue. And you're going to want to put down at least 2 coats of glue to make sure that your bead stays in the shape that you want it. So then once you get it all painted with whatever you're going to paint it with, then you just set it aside and let it dry. Now, you may want to, I'm going to let this dry like this, but a lot of times I will take it off and pop it onto a piece of parchment because I don't want it to glue to my skewer, and but because this is nail polish and not actual glue, I should be okay. So I'll keep my fingers crossed that it turns out okay, that it comes off okay. But once it's done, then it looks like this. So then what I did was I had a piece of tubing, and, keep your eyes open here and there for tubing. You can get it a lot of times at secondhand stores, or if you know somebody that maybe has some. But I got this at the recycle store, but it just wound up being just the right size that I put it underneath of my bead cap, because that's going to kind of give me a top for this is going to be the top of our dangle. So that's what I did there. And this piece of tubing, because it's very large in the center, I just took the nail polish, the clear one, and I just painted it on the inside. And then just let that dry. And then I glued it in with some hot glue and some of our Fix-It-All adhesive. The reason I used both, I've seen a lot of people doing this lately, and I thought it's a very good idea because this takes a while to dry. So, in like 3 spots, I put the Fix-It-All, and then in the 3 spots between those, I put a little bit of hot glue. So when I stuck it on here, the hot glue held it. But I don't care for hot glue as far as being something that I trust to hold for a long time, because I've done things before where the hot glue has eventually just let loose. So this way, the hot glue will hold it for now until the Fix-It-All dries. And then this is going to hold it, kind of forever. So that is how I made our bead cap. So then I wanted some beads to go with it. And I wanted to try and do things that were not just plain old standard, So I had a bunch of little tubing, and this is clear tubing, but I also had some white, which this one would be great to maybe glue a word to and then decoupage over it. I didn't do that, and I decided not that I wasn't going to play with that one. But I painted all my clear ones, and I used these 4 colors because I thought that they all went nicely, with our journal. So it's pretty much blues and greens, but we've got outlines here of like oranges. And so I thought that that would be some nice colors to use on our dangle. So, and then I had these little plastic chips, and you could even punch, because these are not real thick, you could punch some plastic out or punch circles out of some plastic, like acetate that you get from packaging, and then you would have some little circles that you could use as dangles. And then I just went ahead and I did use my drill to just drill holes in them. And some of them I drilled a hole just at the top, and some of them let's use ones that are colored. That'll be much better to see. So some of them I put 2 holes in, and some of them I just put 1 hole in. So, and I figured we're going to use those as dangles. Then I took one of the dragonflies that we made in the Build Your Stash series, and I wanted to have a loop on it because this is going to be my charm at the bottom. Excuse me. This is going to be my charm at the bottom, so I wanted to have a loop on it. So I just took a piece of wire, and all I did was I just bent it so that it looked like that. So I would have a bail. And I didn't want to twist it all around and around. So I just did that, and I cut it off right there. So I just had this little loop. And then I used, again, the Fix-It-All adhesive and hot glue, and went ahead and glued it onto the back of my dragonfly. And then I went ahead and glued another strip of the little fake diamonds to the back, so that no matter which way it's hanging on the book, you're not going to see the back of the body. You'll see a body on both sides. Then that also held my loop in there. So that's what I did for my bottom dangle. And then I just used alcohol ink to color the little plastics. And that's, you know, pretty self-explanatory, other than I don't throw these away. When you use your felts, until you like are never going to use those colors again or whatever, don't throw them away, because there's nothing on there right this second. Still clear. But you can just add a little bit to it, and just a little bit reconstitutes kind of what's on your sponge. And you also can, use rubbing alcohol. And that's what I do quite often, is I'll just drip a couple drips of rubbing alcohol on here, not even put any color whatsoever, not use my colors. I will just, this is so saturated with alcohol ink, it's just dry, because alcohol ink dries very fast. So if you put a drop of rubbing alcohol on there, it will reconstitute that, and you can use that again and again until you kind of use up all of that color. So, and then I went ahead and I made some jump rings, so that we would have some jump rings. And the way to make a jump ring, I made different sizes. I used the skewer that we just used for the bead, and that made this size. And then this one is just a little bit bigger. So I've got those two sizes. Good thing I just showed you that, because I don't want to put, and so the second size was just this little skewer. And I want to make one more size, which I'm going to use a pen. So all you're going to do is you're going to leave a little bit of a tail on your wire, so you've got something to hold on to, and then just wrap your wire pretty close next to each other. Just don't overlap, and don't spread them way out, because then when you scooch them together to kind of make sure that they're round, they wind up different sizes. So do it fairly close, but you don't have to do it exactly right next to the other and touching. So just wrap your wire until you get all the way to the end, then squunch them together and kind of twist them on there even better, and that makes them more round, and then slide it off whatever you're using. Then what you're going to do is cut off the end. What do I do with my nippers? Here they are. Cut off the end. Well, first we're going to stretch it out just a little bit. So we want each one of them to be just a little bit separate from the one on the next to it. Okay, and then where your wire that you wrapped is still straight, you want to go past that to where it's actually round, to the round portion, and make your first nip. And then this piece you're just going to get rid of. All right, now what you're going to do is you are just going to nip each one of these, and right here is where I just nipped it. So I'm going to put my nippers right up against that, angle it a little bit past that, so that if I go straight, it might not close. So if I go just on a touch of an angle, then when it nips, I know that I'm going to have enough for it to close like this. Okay, so that's why you want to do an angle. And so now we have 3 different sizes of jump rings, just because we used the 3 different things to wrap it around. And so we're going to really quick go through. And so with each one of these, we're just going to, that's why you want them a little bit separated, so you have a place to nip it at. You're going to find where you just cut it, put it up against there at just a touch of an angle, and just go through and nip it. I lost my nippers. So again, right up against where the piece you just cut, right up against there, touch of an angle. You don't want a huge angle, or they won't match up either. Just a little bit of an angle. And you just go ahead and do that. And this wire is just regular wire from the Dollar Tree. I cannot tell you what gauge it is, because it does not have the gauge on the package. So, and the larger the jump ring that you make, sometimes, how do I want to say it? they're not as strong. I think that's what I want to say. So they could possibly pull apart easier than the smaller ones. But there we go. So now we have all of those jump rings in 3 different sizes, and I'm going to keep them separate. Okay, and so then what I did was I had put a bunch of tubing on that skewer, and I painted it with nail polish. And so I did the 4 different colors that I showed you of nail polish. And then I did try a couple of the smaller ones where I dripped the nail polish down inside, and I did like 3 of the colors. So you can kind of see there's the peach and then the blue and then the green. And so I did that with them. And then what I did, because I want to put these on my fibers, but I also want a place to connect my dangles. And so I went ahead and I put a little hole in them. I just used my pokey tool and I just pressed it in and just made sure that I could see the tip of my pokey tool in there. And then I used the small dangles, or I used the medium ones, I'm sorry. I used the medium dangles. You're going to open it up. Always open a jump ring from side to side and close it side to side. Don't ever pull it apart like this or they will not close correctly. So if you're fixing your jewelry or something, you want to make sure that you always do that. It's easier to hold on to this when you're trying to put it in here with a pair of pliers, because it will just, so it doesn't slip around. And you're just going to put one end of that jump ring in the hole you just made, and then just again close them up, make them meet. And I usually take that little part and just kind of put it inside so you don't see it. So now I have one of all 4 colors, plus I have 2 of them that are multicolored. So now we're going to look at our journal and say, our journal is 10 1/4 inches long. I want the dragonfly to hang off the bottom, and I don't want it hanging below the bottom of the book. So I'm going to say that the dragonfly is 1 1/2 inches. So I want to take 1 1/2 inches off of 10 1/4. So that's 9 1/4, 8 3/4. So I think that we'll make our strings 8 1/2 inches. We'll make them 8 1/2 inches. And then he'll hang right at the bottom of the book. So then I just picked some fibers that I thought would be pretty, that would go with our book. And so now we're just going to put it all together. So we're just going to take some of this, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold it in half. So what I want to do is I want to go 8 inches is right here. So then I'm going to go like this and cut it. And I think maybe I will do, and so now this is 16 inches long. I'm just gonna, I think I'll do maybe 3, I'll cut 3 of each. I don't know how many we'll put in there. We'll see how big it gets once we start putting it all together. But then we'll have them, and if I don't use it, I can always use it for something else later. So that is that. I thought that was pretty because that's got the blue and the green in it. And then this one is just blue. So since I've already got this cut, I can go ahead and use it as my measurement. Whoops. So there's 1. And maybe the next one we'll only do 2 of. Okay, so there's 1, 2, and 3. Okay, so that is all of those. Hook that on there. And then we have this one. Oh, hopefully I can. There we go. There's an end. I kind of like this because it has a little dark in it. And so I thought it might kind of ground it just a little bit. Since this is all kind of the same color, you kind of need just a little bit of some kind of contrast. And so this one is kind of like brown, green, turquoise, dark blue, and then it starts over again. So we'll cut, I'm going to cut the brown off the bottom and start there. So you watch, I'll just end up with brown at this end. That's kind of the green also. So let's do, you know what? It looks pretty. I'll do 3 of those. We may or may not want them, but we don't have to use them just because we cut them. And I do apologize. I think maybe I was just getting quiet again. I'm having to learn my tone all over again. So, alrighty. Okay, so now what are we going to do? Excuse me. All right, so we are going to, we'll start. How do we want to start? Now this one has like little gaps. There's actually like thread, and then there's 2 sides. It's like a ladder. So I actually could hook a jump ring right on there if I want to. So I could take those and I'm just kind of laying them out because they're different colors to see which one I might want to start with. I think I'm going to start with this one and this one. This one's kind of smushed on the edges, so I don't even think I'm going to use that one. And I think what I'm going to do is use a small. Should put the cap on my glue. Okay, I'm going to use a small jump ring and maybe put a couple of these little candy dangles on there. And if you use 2 pairs of pliers, it works even better. So again, I need to fold this in half so I know where I'm putting them. So that one's part way down. So let's put a green one on there. So, and because there was a little orange in the map, I put a little orange in these little dangles. And basically it's just kind of a, this is on this side, so I'm going to put this one on this side and come down a little bit. Okay, and if you're doing this kind of stuff that's kind of fiddly, if you put your glasses on, it will really help. That's a tip I need to constantly remind myself of because they're always sitting on top of my head. All right, let's try using 2 pairs of pliers. Makes it just easier to fold those back on each other. And you want to make sure that they met up nicely so that they don't come off, especially since they're just hanging on string. Alrighty, so we have that. And I think I'm going to leave that just like it is. And then we will take one of our colored ones. And we need a needle to put this through our beads. So all we need to do for that is take a piece of wire. This is what I always use for a beading needle 90% of the time. Because I do a lot with like big hold beads. So if you have a tiny bead, you need a much smaller wire, but we're just going to fold it in half and give it a squish so that it will fit through our tubing. And there we go. But the reason that I always use these is because now I can just open it up at the top and put my thread, fiber, whatever you're using, right through there, and then It's just so much easier than trying to thread a needle. So I want, okay, I want my dangle to hang on the bottom. So if I put it on like this and take it to the other half, now my jump ring is at the bottom. And I think I'll put a green one on here. And let's see if I put this one in. I'm going to put this one with the, and it doesn't really matter. It can be on the top or on the bottom. But this one I'm going to be on this side, so now I've got that there. So I'm going to do that one like that. Now that's going to have to be, we'll have to make sure that we tie something at the bottom so those don't slide off. They may slide around. These will not because they're hooked into the little ladder. But what do we want to do next? Let's do a blue one. And on the blue one, just thread that needle. And I want to try one of these 2-hole beads. I'm going to take this and not put it in the middle. I want just the end of it, just like you were threading a needle. I want to try and put it through one hole and then go back through the other. Like this. There we go. And so now it's on there like that. So I think kind of like a buckle. And I think that's kind of cool. So I'm going to put that one down. That one's pretty blue. I'm going to go one that's got a little bit more green. And I can adjust where I want it afterwards, because I want that one kind of on the other side. There we go. So now we've got one of each of those on there. So we've got those 3 bits, and that's what they look like. So now I'm going to just put the others together with it, because we may or may not want to hang something on those. And so let's see. Whoops. Now what I'm going to do to start now is I'm going to fold this in half, find my center. And then we'll do the green one. And we're going to put these all together now. And then finish putting all of our charms on. I just figured it would be easier threading some of the things on there while they were apart. So there's those 3. And then that one. And they don't have to be perfectly even. You can trim them at the end, or also you don't necessarily, it depends on what you want your dangle to look like, because you can also let them hang at different lengths. I like to start them out at about even. It's pretty much as far as I really worry about it. So there we go. So if we take those and hold them right there, they look pretty good. And so now I am going to tie these with a piece of, what do I want to use at the top? Got some green here, I think. Okay, yep, this is just green baker's twine. And so I'm just going to tie them in the center. And because these are such fibery yarns, that's why I'm not using one of them to try and tie it in a knot, because I have a real hard time tying together these types of yarns. So I'm just going to tie it really tight. Whoops. Doesn't need to be that tight, I guess. And make it a knot. There we go. And then I am going to put it on our bead cap. So where did our needle go? Again, I can just slide that right in there like that. And then go through. There we go. Go right through here. And I'm sliding those fibers right up into that tube. So there is our bead cap, which I think that's kind of cool. And then I'm going to come up here and just tie a knot in the top so that I want to loop there. And see, that's actually going to extend the length of this also, is that loop on the top. Extends it by about 1 inch, so we'll still have to trim some off the bottom. And then I'm going to leave about a 1/2 inch, let that stick up. And then this is going to go on a paper clip. And I want it on this bottom portion of the paper clip so that we can take this little portion and put it over our book like that. So in order to keep that on the paper clip, what I'm going to do, and I hadn't thought about this till just now, but because I don't want that just sliding off all the time. So I'm going to take the paper clip and twist it around. I'm going to go all the way around. And back up again. There we go. So now that's actually gone around this piece so it can't slide up. Now it could make its way around there and back up, but that's not going to just slide off of there. And there we go. So now it will paper clip onto our book just like that. And then it's a matter of just going through and deciding what we're going to put where. So we have this bead at the top, and if I want to, I could go ahead and take this string, because we've slid the bead on here, it has a jump ring on it, and now I could take this thread and put it right back through there like that, and that will, is that going to actually hold it? Put it through there. So you have to put the whole wire through, go through there, and then come back through just like you were tying a knot. And I'm going to take my needle off because it's too long. There we go. Now there's a knot around that jump ring. So that should stay right there. Excuse me. And so now on there we can take one of these little, take one of our little chips. And I think I'm going to use a medium-sized jump ring. Put that on there. And put it on the jump ring. Close it up. And now we've got that hanging there just like that. So it's just a matter of going through and deciding what you want where. I put a double one on there, which means I could put another charm in that hole. And do one of the single hole charms. And put that one right on there so that that's going to hang 2 down. Excuse me. Okay, so now we've got it just like that. And I could even have put another double one and put another charm on the bottom of that one. You could go as far as you want. I could do that like full length. So what other ones do we have here? We have one here. I think maybe I'll put an orange one on there. And we'll just use one of the medium jump rings. I think this is a small. That's a nice thing if you have a piece of wire that's not super thin. And I just bent that. I'll try and pull it back in. There we go. You can make all different sizes of jump rings, and you'll have what you need when you need it. And again, this is just that's just this steel wire from the Dollar Tree. And again, there was 33 feet or 10 meters, but it doesn't give me a gauge on here anywhere. So, but it's just a nice medium weight, I would say, maybe wire. So then we've got another one of these, and I think that I would like to find one of my, here we go, find one that doesn't have anything on it, and just go ahead and put that one on there. And then what I want to do with it, I think I'm going to bring it to the bottom and tie a knot around it. Which is, that's why I said these are hard to knot, because they have all those little hairs there. There we go. And then I'm just going to make sure that that knot is at the top, so my little leg will stick up like that, and that will hang down straight. So there we go. Now we have to put our candies on here, so I'm just going to open this up where the candy was held on, and do we have one of our tubes? I want to put one candy on here, so we'll do that right now. Grab a medium-sized jump ring. I always forget to use my pliers, but I would get yourself in the habit of it. For a long time, I didn't have any pliers. You know, when I was messing around, I just didn't have them in my art room or whatever, or with me. And so I got in the habit of not using the pliers. And you're going to save yourself a lot of heartache if you use your pliers if you have them. And you don't have to have them, but it is nice. Oh, and that little one, that just broke off. So we're just going to set that aside for now, and I think I will probably maybe glue that somewhere, or maybe put it inside the book. But so here we go so far. How far are we? We're at 43 minutes already. So we can just maybe get some more of these on here. I'm going to move my stuff over and spread this out and kind of see where there's not a whole lot of something. So I'm going to put one of these on. Let's see. Don't want to open up the ring that I have on there. I just put another ring on it. And I'm going to put it on this piece right about here. I don't want to go too close to the bottom because I know I'm going to have to trim off the bottom. So just put that wire through there, or the thread through there. Tighten that up. There we go. Well, that's on there. And I could, see here. That one doesn't have anything. So let's use a large jump ring. I like the medium and small ones better just because they're a little sturdier, like I said. Nothing wrong with the big ones. I use them quite often, but if I don't need them, they also, you know, it looks better if you use a smaller one than having this great big jump ring there. So there we go. And where's my needle? Let's go ahead. This one doesn't have anything on it. I'll put this one with the jump ring on it. And that one has the jump ring at the top. And that's just fine. I'm gonna use a small one. And so now, then it's just a matter of looking at your tassel, seeing where it needs something, and adding something there. And you can always add more. If you put too much on and you don't like it later, you can take some away. But that's really nice. And then I think I'm going to thread one of these. Whoops, I don't want that. I want this. I'm going to thread a button one on the bottom of this to kind of keep it on there. Then I'll just put a knot, a regular knot in the bottom, and I think that that will hold the button on. Put that through there like that, and then Fiddly's not doing real good for me today. There we go. So now we've got that one on there, kind of like a buckle. And I'm going to slide that back up, get it out of my way. I'm going to just tie a knot in the bottom. There we go. I'm pretty sure that that's, yep, that's not going to go off that knot. So if it does slide down, it's going to stay where it's at. So this is what we have so far. And actually our colors are very close. So some of it's kind of not showing up that well. So that's something also to think about. And also you can always add more later. I'll put that one at the top too. This one is just an orange one. Definitely want to get this on here to give me a little bit of contrast with all the blue and green that I did. And let's see, looks like we need something right here. I'll put this long one. And I probably will then go through maybe and find a few beads to put on here. I didn't bring out any beads. I didn't think I was going to put beads on, but I think that I am. And I'll put maybe a beads at the bottom of each one and then tie a knot so the bead stays on and it holds everything else on. And I'm going to move my piece of candy out to where it could be seen better. Maybe right at the top, I'm thinking. So, and we need to put our dragon at the bottom, our dragonfly. So we've got this. And we're going to hang it on here like this. Oops. It'd help if I put it over the whole spine. It's not in the middle. Okay, so this is what we have, and this is where we're sticking down. So I am going to trim off the bottom, and I'm trying to think. I think I'm going to put the dragonfly right up there. And I'm going to put the piece of candy, I'm going to take this off and put it right below it so that it's got that on the front. And so then all I will do is, because we're all the way to the bottom, I will just go ahead. I know I don't want it longer than my book, so I'm going to cut it right there. And I think that that looks really cute. Like I said, I did all my dangles to match, and maybe that wasn't the smartest thing to do. They're very cool, and they're pretty, and they're fun, but they're not standing out much. So I think that maybe I need a little bit of orange, because there is orange in the map. Oh, there's also orange on the back. So I think maybe I need to add a few orange pieces on here. And we'll put our candy on there. I was thinking about gluing that on there, but I think it will come out. So I don't think I'm going to do that. But there we go. So there is the start of a dangle. The dangle is just made from, you know, just all of these fibers, I can tell you, came from either a secondhand store or a yard sale, are shredded up paper bits, old tubing, and little bits of plastic that you can use acetate, just regular wire from the Dollar Tree, and some nail polish. So, you know, you don't always think you have to have what everybody else has in order to make what they're making. Think about what it is that you have that you could use in its place. So this is as far as I'm going to go for now. I will go through and maybe put on some orange beads and that type of thing, get it a little bit more colorful, and then I will show you the next week how it turned out. But thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you, Chris, for the little candies. That was really cool, and it really kind of kicked me into gear to do the tassel, which I've been kind of thinking about doing and putting it off. So thank you very much, everyone, again. I appreciate you all, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.